Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dr. Tim Nash, the director of the McNair Center at Northwood University, and it's my honor to open up our third and final session of the Northwood University Northwood Idea Summer Symposium. Just as a bit of a recap, for the first 2 weeks, we covered individual liberty in the Northwood Idea, how free people can and do accomplish great things in a moral and ethical society. Last week, we had a treat when our academic vice president and provost, Dr. Kristen Stahauer, presented, excuse me, the Northwood Idea and how it relates to organizations and states, countries, and literally regions of the globe cooperating in a free and competitive environment. And so if you recall, Dr. Stahauer, one of the highlights of her presentation was to note how East and West Germany became one country. Communist East and capitalist West joined and formed a free country. And today, the United Germany is one of the most productive economies in the world. Or as we saw about the same time, we had countries such as China and the region of Hong Kong. They literally united at the end of the 20th century. And even though there's some conflict right now, you're seeing that a freer Chinese economy is producing a much more competitive economic environment, a much higher standard of living for the Chinese citizens of mainland China. And hopefully what we'll continue to see is a discussion and a movement toward a greater economic and political freedom in that part of the world. Surely one of the areas that is best suited for academic study that I'm sure you will come across many times during your 4 years at Northwood University will be the analysis of South Korea and North Korea. North Korea is still one of the few dominant hardline communist countries in the world. And South Korea is literally one of the top 12 economies in the world in terms of GDP and economic productivity. And so what we think is really important for all of you to understand as you enter Northwood as freshmen or transfer students this fall, and mom and dad for parents back home, is that the Northwood Idea really starts with the individual, but it truly influences cities and states and countries where our students reside and where they may find a career after graduation. We have students from around the world that come to Northwood, and the Northwood Idea is truly a global value, a global premise or fundamental point of reference. It will be a very unique and interesting year because our students will be studying during a 4-year cycle or during a presidential election, and they'll be able to debate politics and debate the Northwood Idea and their own individual preferences and values and political points of view. And we will see once again the peaceful transition of power, both at the level of many state governments, many local governments, and on a national scale with our House of Representatives, our Senate, and perhaps in the White House. So it's important that as you look at the Northwood Idea, you understand that free people really can and do make a difference. They can and do incredible things, but you'll also see that some people are fortunate enough to be born in freedom and have that benefit from birth. Others are born in societies that are not so free, and hopefully over our lifetime, we'll see the world be a much freer place toward the end of our lives than it was when we came into the world or when we studied at the college level. So these are the types of variables that you will become very familiar with, because one of the things that we want to note is that the freer the people, generally speaking, the happier the people and the higher the standard of living for all the individuals that live within those societies or communities. And so as we look at this evening, this is our third and our wrap-up program for our symposium. And what's important to note is that we're going to give you a view of Northwood University, the Northwood idea inside the university. And I'm honored to be turning the program over to one of my colleagues in our advancement department, Chris Deming, who will introduce tonight's program and moderate it. He will be introducing Professor Delois Leapart. He will be introducing our Dean of Students, Andy Kripe. He will be introducing once again our academic dean for our undergraduate program, Dr. Patty Tim. And then after our Q&A session, he will be turning the program over to our president, Dr. Kent Mcdonald, for the wrap-up of the program. It is my honor to turn the program over to Chris Deming. Chris.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nash. I always appreciate you giving us that sterling introduction. Well, as you mentioned, my name is Christopher Deming. I'm the Director of Organizational Partnerships and Alumni Relations here at Northwood University. I'm also part of the adjunct faculty where I teach economics and philosophy of American enterprise. Just a few housekeeping items. If this is your second or third panel that you've attended, welcome back. Thanks for coming back. If this is your first one, please use the Q&A tab. You'll find it on the right side of your screen. There you can input any questions that you may have. You can address things to specific panelists. You can ask specific questions, or any question that you may have, whether it was covered tonight or not. Without any further delay, I'd like to briefly introduce the remaining panelists that we have tonight. First, I'd like to introduce Professor Delois Leapart, who is Professor of Law at Northwood University, and I might add, one of the most challenging and worthwhile classes that I had as an undergraduate. I graduated from Northwood University in 2009, and Professor Leapart's class is one that is still memorable to this day. She will be speaking first. After her, we have Dean Kripe, Andy Kripe, who is a wonderful leader, and so much of his vision impacts the experiences that you'll have on a day-to-day basis on campus at Northwood University. Last but certainly not least, as Dr. Nash alluded to, Dr. Patty Tim. You may remember from last week if you joined us, she helped moderate the program with Dr. Kristen Stahauer. So once Dr. Tim has wrapped up, we will have time for all of your questions. As a reminder, we're here for you. We really want to hear what you have to say, questions you may have, whether it was covered in tonight's program or not. So without any further delay, please welcome Professor Leapart.
Good evening. Thank you for that kind introduction. I'm here tonight to talk to you as a member of the faculty about tips for success. The good news is each of you will have equal access to plenty of opportunities to succeed. But before we talk about those opportunities, we should all agree on a definition. Now, don't get me wrong. There are plenty of excellent definitions for success. The one I'm going to use tonight is increasing your balance sheet. Now, you may have arrived, in fact, all of you probably arrived with different balance sheets. Some of you arrived with college credit. Others arrived without any college credit, and they'll get their first college credit in the fall. Some of you arrived as special scholarship recipients, such as Nagley Scholars, or Freedom Scholars, or Free Enterprise Scholars, or Entrepreneurship Scholars. Some of you have athletic scholarships or alumni scholarships. Regardless of how you arrived here, TIP grant, Pell grant, or mom and dad grant, you now have a blank slate. And so with your blank slate, regardless of where you come from, you will have a multitude of opportunities awaiting you. When you start with the definition of success as increasing your balance sheet, it doesn't matter where you start, because it's not important where you start. it's where you finish. And to give you 3 of the guidelines for success tonight that I'd like to speak on, they all start with G, so it should make it a little easier to remember them. The 3 G's of increasing your balance sheet, I'll start with the first one. Now, I know some of you, when I said the 3 G's, you were thinking, well, wait a minute, isn't it the 3 R's? Reading, writing? And some people refer to it as arithmetic or arithmetic. Those are important. Those are all crucial skills, and they will help you with the 3 G's. But my first G is growth. Every class you take at Northwood, the professors will state their expectations for growth up front. They will state their expectations in advance in a critical document called the syllabus. In addition to the syllabus, you want to do 3 more things. In addition to following the guidance on the syllabus, you want to do 3 more things very consistently. Consistently, you want to go to class. Consistent, and that could be virtually. That could be in person, but consistently, you want to go to class. And consistently, you want to sit in the front. Because studies show that students who sit in the front often excel beyond their peers who do not. And last but not least, in the growth category of consistently going to class, sitting in front, remember, engagement, regardless of where you sit, is a personal choice. Don't get me wrong, we have many great faculty, whether I'm talking about the auto show students operating under the guidance of Professor Bright, who has tremendous experience in that field, or the econ students operating under the tutelage of Professor Harris, or the business law students who elect to take a class from Professor Gostenik, who has a private practice and also has been a prosecutor for the State Bar of Michigan, or whether it's Professor, we have so many fantastic professors at Northwood, and I can't name them all, but they are excited about their subject matter and they're looking forward to teaching you. But engagement is a personal choice. And that's something that I encourage you to make for the duration of the semester. It's obviously a lot easier at the beginning when everything's new. But as you get closer to midterms, it gets a little harder to make that choice. And I encourage you, the third thing I encourage you to do consistently, besides going to class and sitting in front, is engagement, making sure you're engaged. Now, I've been focusing on increasing your balance sheet by doing well in class, and that's very important. But the classroom isn't the only place you can increase your balance sheet. There are many opportunities outside the classroom to increase your balance sheet. For example, some of you may have come here on a DECA scholarship. Others may have come on a BPA scholarship. Some may have come on a gaming scholarship. In fact, if you get involved with mock trial, there are scholarships available there too. Now that one's my favorite because I'm the director of the mock trial program. And if you want to know more about that, don't hesitate to email me. It's just my last name at northwood.edu. So it's Leap Heart, Leap as in leap of faith, and heart like the one in your chest at northwood.edu. So we've talked about the first G, and that is growing your balance. No matter where you start, every class is an opportunity to increase your knowledge, your skills, and the talents reflected on your balance sheet. The second G is graduation. And if you meet all the requirements for your degree, that's how you get to the second G, which is graduation. And graduation results in your obtaining tangible proof of your success. That tangible proof is a diploma. Now recognize that the reason I'm encouraging you to focus from day one on increasing your knowledge and knowing what's on the syllabus and consistently doing those 3 things is because the diplomas are differentiated. When you get to commencement, you'll discover that if you have an overall GPA of 3.9 in the commencement brochure, when your mom and your dad open it, they'll find 3 asterisks next to your name. If you have not quite made that 3.9, but you kept a 3.7 or higher, then you'll find 2 asterisks for graduating summa cum laude. And if you kept a 3.5, then you'll find 1 asterisk designating you as cum laude. Now, graduation requires a 2.0, and I like to say that as part of my tips for success because you want to keep that in mind. Because whether you graduate magna cum laude, summa cum laude, or thank you, Lordy, I got that 2.0, after you get that degree, it's time to go on to the third and final G that I'm going to talk about tonight. And that is taking that balance sheet that you accumulated during your learning inside the classroom and during your learning outside the classroom, and taking that entire balance sheet to an employer. Now, our career services is an office that you don't want to visit for the first time your senior year. Get in there your freshman year and start looking for internships. Keep in touch with them sophomore and junior year. And keep in touch with them until you have employment that will allow you to start work after graduation. And once you get there, it's time to do that third and final G. Take your balance sheet, leverage those assets, and generate success in your next endeavor. Because once again, you'll be starting with a blank slate. And that blank slate will put you on a team, and they will want to see you contribute to the team. And those skills you've been developing over the 3 years if you're an accelerator student, 4 years if you're a traditional student, or more years if you choose to change your major. You'll take all those assets with you to your new employer and generate success in that environment and develop a wonderful career. So those are my 3 G's. Grow your balance sheet while you're here. Make sure that you meet all the graduation requirements, and then take that balance sheet and generate success in your next endeavor. I'd like to end by sharing with you 2 of my favorite quotes, because sometimes things don't go as we plan, but that's okay. Vince Lombardi would tell you it's not whether you get knocked down, it's whether you get back up. Because the measure of who we are is not what we do. It's what you do with what you have. And so I look forward to meeting you on campus and seeing what you do with what you have. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dean Crite. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Delois. I'd like to just turn it back over to you, and I could sit here and listen to you for a few more minutes. What a wonderful piece that you've just shared, and some great advice. We love Delois. Great job, Delois. So as Delois and Chris have said, my name is Andy Kripe, and I'm the Dean of Student Affairs here at Northwood. And I've been at Northwood for just shy of 25 years. I started out in a different role, and about 5.5 years ago, I came over into the Dean of Students role. And one of the things that has kept me at Northwood as long as I have, because when I first walked through the doors at Northwood and walked onto campus, I really didn't have any idea that I would spend 25 years here at Northwood. But now, 25 years later, I've gotten married, raised 3 daughters, and Northwood is a family. It's a second family to me. And I suspect that that is one of the things that you've already figured out about Northwood, and possibly one of the reasons why you've chosen to attend Northwood. So I would like to give you 4 pieces of advice that, as Delois has talked about, you can use to grow your balance sheet outside of the classroom while you're here at Northwood. And the first is what I just mentioned. Northwood is a family environment. Now that may sound cliche, and you may say, well, what does that really mean? Well, what that means is that we have each other's back and we take care of each other. We have a code of ethics that drives our behavior such that we respect other people and we're very conscientious of our actions and we take responsibility for them and we understand how our actions affect other people. Northwood is a smaller school. I suspect that's another reason why some of you have chosen Northwood. So take advantage of that. Take advantage of the opportunities to make connections with students around you. You're going to find students around you sitting next to you in your classes that own businesses already and are a great resource for you. Take advantage of the opportunity to get to know your professors. At larger schools, that isn't always possible. But here at Northwood, as Dolores already shared with you, if you sit in the front row and you make a connection with your professor, that's going to help you grow that balance sheet and make your experience here even better. Come have coffee with me. I have a thing called coffee with Cripe. Some people call it gripe with Cripe. We'll make it whatever you want. But spend the time and invest in yourself by making connections while you're here at Northwood. My door is always open to you, and every professor you have would say the same thing. Even President Mcdonald, who you'll hear from later, would say that his door is open to you at any time. And that's one thing that makes Northwood very, very different. Secondly, I would tell you to live your values. As I've already mentioned, here at Northwood, you're going to learn very early on during orientation and welcome weekend, this weekend, I'll be talking with you more about our code of ethics. It's something that's near and dear to me, and it aligns with the Northwood idea. And I would challenge you to build your foundation that you've already, stand on the foundation that you've already built. Stand firmly on it and live your values. But live your values and allow them to be challenged. Open and respectful and empathetic debate and discourse is a great way for you to learn more about the values that you espouse and to learn more about other people. That connection that you get, as I mentioned in the first piece of advice, can just blossom if you allow yourself to open up, be a little bit vulnerable, and get to a real spot with other people. And empathy is the key to that. I think in our world right now, we need more empathy. We need to shut our mouth a little bit more and listen and open our ears a little more. And so I encourage you to do that while you're here at Northwood. Expose yourself purposefully to people that are different than you and take advantage of all the knowledge that they can share with you. To go through and not expand your knowledge and expose yourself to different people, different ideas, would be a mistake. So I would challenge you to live your values and put yourself out there and learn from other people. The third piece of advice I have is actually, I'm going to share it to you in a story. And I don't oversee academics. I don't have anything to do with any grades that you get. But I feel like I have to give you a story on academics. And that story is about my middle daughter. And some of you may have heard me say this on another virtual event that we've done, but bear with me. Lucy, my middle daughter, plays soccer, and she's been on a travel soccer team since she's been in third grade. So Lucy and I have spent a lot of time in cars, driving to Detroit and Grand Rapids and other states so she can play soccer. And it's been a true blessing because we've had that time to be with each other in conversation, and we've learned so much about each other. But one time, a couple years ago, and Lucy currently is a senior in high school. A couple years ago, Lucy hopped in the car. We started driving to a soccer practice, just like we had a million times before. And in the course of our conversation, Lucy shared with me that she had a math test coming up. And I said, wow, well, this would have been a great opportunity for you to bring your materials with you and study your math. And she said, no, I'll be okay. I said, okay, Lucy. So we went to soccer practice, came back. A couple nights later, we climbed back into the car, driving to soccer practice again. And I said, Lucy, did you have that math test? And she said, I did. And I said, how'd you do? And I can't move my head like she does, like so your chin does this on top of your shoulders. But she started doing that, and she said 98%. And I said, Lucy, I said, I'm proud of you, but someday you're going to have to learn how to manage your time and study. And she did the whole head, neck thing again, and she said, not today. Now, I love my Lucy, but the point of this story is that time for all of you is today. Time management, making decisions, and taking advantage of the time that you have to study is very important right now. And college is very different from high school if you're coming from high school. And if you're transferring in, you've done well, so continue to manage your time well. The last piece of advice I have for you is really more of sharing what one of the heart of Northwood is for me, and that is go mad. As you can see behind me, it's on my wall. It's very near and dear to me, and it's something that it means go make a difference. And I challenge you every single day of your life to never underestimate the difference you can make in somebody's life. We never know what struggles people are going through. We never know what kind of weight is on their shoulders. And just a simple, kind gesture, a smile, a handshake. Well, we can't handshake now with COVID, but a wave, an acknowledgement, a listening ear, having some empathy to find out what is going on in that person's life. Walking just a little bit in their shoes can mean the world to them. And I challenge you on a daily basis while you're here at Northwood to make a difference, to have a go mad moment every day where you just do a little thing to make our campus better, to make the life of someone around you better, and which ultimately then, with that small pebble going into the pond, sends those ripples out, and in a small way makes the world a better place. So I would encourage you every single day, don't forget, go make a difference. And with that, I wish you the best. I look forward to seeing you on campus in a few days. My email address, I don't have the leap of faith and the heart, but I do have a for Cripe's sake. So it's just Cripe, my last name, CRIPE, @northwood.edu. And I encourage you at any time, please reach out with any questions, concerns, or if there's anything I can do to support you or help you, I'm happy to do that. And as we've already said, we are here for you. So thank you again for listening and being a part of our night tonight. I'd like to now pass it on to Dr. Patty Tim, our academic dean.
Wow. I'm just sitting here so excited, and everything that I've heard tonight, we didn't share notes among the speakers, but you're going to find that there's similar themes, and I'm just so glad I work at Northwood. So this has been a great night for me, and I hope that you'll find that it's a very beneficial night for you as well. So I was really excited that Professor Liebhart was using a balance sheet. And that's because when I came to Northwood 10 years ago, I was teaching accounting full time. So the balance sheet really rang true for me. So that was a great analogy. So then, as a faculty member and as academic dean, I have a couple perspectives on how to be academically successful. So after listening to Professor Liebhart, I think you have an idea of what your faculty's expectations are for you and how to be successful in building relationships with them. but I'm asking you to really understand what the faculty role is. Every faculty member feels that they are responsible for providing you an education that prepares you for a successful and fulfilling career. That's our goal. It's not as much about the content, although that's important. We want you to be successful. We want you to have a long, fulfilling, successful career. So that means that, yes, we're teaching you content in subject areas, but we're also helping you to learn how to work in teams, communicate effectively, think critically, meet deadlines, and follow directions. Your educational experience goes well beyond doing well on a test. Now, your professors can't do the learning for you. They can direct and facilitate it, but you need to learn how to become a lifelong learner and do that activity and preparation that it takes to learn. So you will find yourself challenged and learning how to learn. Now, you all are enrolled in a foundations course called Self and Service, and that's going to give you tools and information to help you be successful in all your classes. It also will expose you to the experiential learning opportunities outside the classroom and, very importantly, the Northwood idea. Don't think that just because it's a one-credit course, it isn't as important as your other courses, because this class truly builds your foundation for success at Northwood University. Then I would recommend that you build your network. That's been mentioned by both of the previous speakers. So you have new friends you're going to make, teammates, classmates, professors, and other Northwood staff members. I would suggest you try to find a mentor your freshman year, someone, whether it's a faculty member or an upperclassman or someone in a particular staff position, to be your mentor throughout your time at Northwood. Everyone needs a mentor, and don't wait to try to find one of those. You may just find that your foundations instructor may be just the right person for that, so that might be a good place to start. It also isn't too early to build your professional network for future employers. Professor Liebhart mentioned that as well. As a freshman, you should be attending any career fairs or employer informational sessions that are available. We always want you to learn what that interview process is like, how to introduce yourself to future employers. It's easier as a freshman when it's not the most important job that you want to get. This is the time to practice and get an idea. This is the time to watch how other students are interacting with prospective employers. So freshman year is a great time to start. You should also attend the workshops and coaching sessions available through our Career Advancement Department. They will be some of the most important people that you will interact with on campus. They have great advice. They will help you with your resume. You might find that you'll be coming back throughout your career to seek their advice, so never too early. So now I have some personal advice that's a little lighthearted, but does have a serious meaning to it. So first of all, if you're a perfectionist, I'm going to ask you to lighten up. I'm one of you. I understand. I get it. You've always been a straight 4-point. You want to be a straight 4-point. You want a triple major. You just have very high expectations for yourself. you need to think about the learning. You need to focus on the learning, not just the points or the grades. It has to be deep learning. So I reflect on some students that I've talked to over the years, and it honestly makes me really sad when I run across a bright, talented, driven student who will tell me, oh, well, I don't want to take that class, or I'm not going to take that professor because I've heard it's really a lot of work and they're very demanding. And it's like, oh my goodness, this is where you should be challenging yourself. They're too focused on the grade and not on what they can learn in that particular class and with that particular professor. I've had students who, because they're perfectionists, if they're not going to get a 4-point, they decide to withdraw from a class so that it doesn't impact their GPA. And that's such a waste of your time and money. Please, please, don't be so tied up in what the points are on an assignment. Instead, what have you learned when a professor gives you feedback that maybe you've never received before? It's a little harder and tougher and more critical. What can you learn from that instead of being defensive and say, well, wait a minute, no, I always do well in this particular subject. But if you're not a perfectionist and haven't really had to apply yourself in high school, it's now time to step up. So for both of these types of people and everyone in between, you need to challenge yourself. You need to challenge yourself both inside and outside the classroom. Allow yourself to make mistakes. You might fail in different endeavors. Your career isn't going to be easy. So now is the time to learn what it means to struggle and have to persevere. Learn it at Northwood. This is a safe place to learn those lessons rather than learning them the hard way on your first job. So lastly, I'm going to tell you that for once I will say it's all about you because you need to challenge yourself. You need to take advantage of our resources that will help you be successful. You need to develop your support network on campus. You need to be true to yourself and to your beliefs. You also need to be kind to yourself. And most of all, you should be very proud of yourself. We're so looking forward to having you on campus. Welcome Weekend is like one of the best weekends of the academic year, along with commencement. And as it's been said by Dean Kripe and Professor Liepart, we're all here for you. Our doors are open. My email address, similar to the others, is fairly easy, but I haven't come up with a cute, funny way to introduce it. So my last name is Tim, Timm, at northwood.edu. So my email is lastnametim@northwood.edu. And I look forward to seeing you this weekend, and I am excited to see what you achieve at your time at Northwood. So thank you for your time, and now we're going to have some time for questions and answers. So I will hand it over to Chris.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tim. It's always a pleasure to hear you speak. I'd like to invite all of our panelists to join us back on audio and video. As a reminder for the guests that have joined us this evening, if you do have questions, please use the tab on the right labeled Q&A. That's where we will be monitoring them. And as moderator for tonight, I have the luxury of being able to ask the first questions as the guest questions come in. First question, I'm going to you, Professor Liepart, because you know I have to. Little plug for you on the mock trial. As the director of mock trial, one of our, candidly, very successful student organizations on campus, what can you say about the students who decide to become very engaged outside of the classroom?
I wonder if she's there. Delois?
I think we may have a slight.
I am. I
Okay.
hear you. I hear
Okay,
you.
we
but
can hear you now.
yeah, we have a delay. So I heard the question. I heard the question say, "What do I say about the students who become engaged?" And then I didn't hear the rest of it.
In activities outside the classroom.
Oh, my number one advice is the B word: balance. Employers will judge you first and foremost by your transcript. They will make decisions about whether you get an interview, oftentimes based on your transcript. Not every employer will do that, but some will. So B is for balance. So you want to make sure that, like Andy's daughter, you do a correct assessment of how much time it takes to preserve the academic transcript, which will open many doors. I did not say you can't get a job with a 2.0. I said that the higher your GPA is, the more opportunities you have in the job market. So a GPA only gets you in the door. It's teamwork and great leveraging of your assets that, and I did say that twice intentionally, that keeps the job and grows you in the job and leads to pay increases and promotions. So the key word is balance, because you're not going to be on the Gale team and not want to do well. Those are teams that when we go against Yale or Harvard or NYU or Stanford or UCLA, we're in it to win it. And, when we won the national championship, we did that. We've been runner-up in our division at least 3 times. Last time we were at championships, we finished in 10th place, and we've qualified in 10 out of the last 15 years. So it's easy to get your passions and your time devotion to your extracurriculars out of whack, because the engagement is so, I want to say, addicting. Once you win an award, you win a trophy, you want to work harder and win a new one. Or if you don't win a trophy, you're angry and you want to work hard and win a new one. So the key is balance. Make sure you're taking care of yourself in the classroom as well as excelling in your extracurriculars. That's my advice.
I have to reiterate, I'm always staggered when you tell me that Northwood has beaten Yale, Harvard, and some of these other Ivy League schools. It's just a remarkable accomplishment, and I'm always so excited to tell people. We do have some questions in the hopper, and I'm going to direct the first one to Dean Kripe. We have a question. What does Welcome Weekend involve for students? If it's the weekend long and my student is assigned a Sunday move-in, what does the rest of the weekend look?
Well, it is all weekend long for freshmen. Since your student was assigned a Sunday move-in, I'm going to assume that he or she is a transfer student. And so the transfer orientation takes place Sunday afternoon. It starts at 11:30 and runs through about 4 o'clock. If that is not the case, I would encourage you to email me tonight, and we'll make some corrections and get you moved in earlier. But I sent those emails, so it is certainly possible that I put somebody on the wrong distribution list. But if you are a transfer and you have a Sunday move-in time, you can move in starting at 10 a.m. Sunday. I would take advantage of that time so that you then are available for the transfer orientation, which starts at 11:30 on Sunday.
We have a question. I will direct this probably to Dr. Tim, but whoever might have the better answer. Are there career fairs in the fall? If so, how will they be conducted given the current COVID situation?
My understanding, and Dean Kripe might have other information, but I believe that it is going to be more of a virtual career fair. And what's exciting about it is we're actually getting more employers who are able to participate than may if it was a face-to-face event. You know, travel costs, those types of things can sometimes reduce the number of recruiters and which companies will come to campus. So it's one of the many silver linings I think we're seeing throughout the pandemic is that it's opening up opportunities for more employers to participate. But our Career Advancement Office will be pushing out a lot of information. So make sure that you read announcements, check your email, look at the FYIs posted in Blackboard. That information will be coming probably pretty fast and furious once classes start.
And I would also just echo what Dr. Tim has said and say that many of our career fairs already had a virtual component to it. So this is not new for us at Northwood University. So this is just an expansion of things that we have been doing for a little while. Little prepared, but that's always good. I'm going to stick with you here, Dr. Tim. I have a question for you. I was always so appreciative to hear your story about the perfectionist student because you, as I understand it, are an accounting person. And as an economics brain, accounting does not work well with the way that I learn. So I'm curious to hear from you, what sort of resources are available for students to decide to tackle those difficult classes?
Well, since every major will be taking 1 year of accounting, that's a crucial class. And first, I would strongly recommend that students feel comfortable asking questions of their professor, first and foremost. But I also know that the accounting textbooks have with it electronic resources. And if you choose, you can just have the electronic text. But there is so much additional information available, videos, practice sets, all sorts of additional information. So those are some of the choices, but we have a fabulous tutoring center. Our Timberwolf Learning Commons includes our Timberwolf Learning Center, and that is where our tutoring takes place. And they always have on staff accounting majors who will tutor accounting. Most of our professors actually really kind of like those students, perhaps like you, Chris, that don't really think that they're going to like accounting. It's really rewarding to turn somebody around and have them, you see those light bulbs going off saying, oh, I didn't think I could do this, but wow, okay, that makes sense. So those are some of the resources, but in particular, your professor, do more than just the basic homework. I could go on and on about that, but do more. And tutoring center and other classmates are always really helpful as well.
Be clear, I did get through accounting. I do want to make that clear.
I don't like economics. I'm sorry. Economics and statistics.
It's okay. There's, Professor Leaphart's law classes, accounting classes, it wouldn't be college if it weren't challenging. I'm noticing that Dean Kripe is multitasking, and I appreciate that for him. For the sake of clarity for all of the people who are attending and who may not be actively monitoring the Q&A, Dean Kripe, would you be willing to just reiterate some of the answers that you gave to the questions there? I'll be happy to read them to you, and if you could just respond so that we have it on video as well. Would my freshman student be able to use the Career Center to help write a resume during the beginning of the semester? Dean Kripe, you are muted. You are now unmuted.
There we go. And it always happens once, right?
Yeah.
The answer was you bet. As Professor Leapart said, take advantage of our career services early and often. It's a great resource.
Yes, and it should be iterated too that career advancement opportunity follows you post-graduation for as long as you live. There is no terminus on that date. So once you graduate and walk across the stage, those resources are available to you forever. Are there any activities planned for freshman parents, Dean Kripe?
And my answer there, let me actually clarify my answer a little bit. If the question is specifically about Welcome Weekend, which I'm assuming it is, unfortunately with COVID, we are not planning any activities for freshman parents during that. Outside of the check-in tent, which there'll be a lot of information shared there, and you can have a lot of questions answered while you're in the check-in tent. We urge you to take your time moving through that process, and then the move-in process. But to keep the density of our population inside the residence halls as low as we can, we've assigned those 2-hour time blocks, and this is kind of answering another question that was asked. So between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m., there are 5 groups. Each group has 2 hours to move in, and none of the groups are over, I believe the biggest group is 50 students moving in at one time. So we really wanted to spread that process out to account for social distancing and to keep everybody as safe as possible. So, but unfortunately, we did have to cut some of our programming due to some of the restrictions from the latest executive order. And so parents are going to go through that check-in process and then help move in and then have to head home after that.
I will say, though, that you'll want to keep your eyes out, freshman parents, because there will be a table there specifically for parents where our team in Advancement and Alumni Relations will be passing out a goodie bag with some things for you in specific. So be sure to keep an eye out for that as you're going through Welcome Weekend. We have another question.
Chris, can I add something to that as well? Because many times what freshman parents are looking for is maybe a little coaching on what they can do to help their students be successful. And we are going to be sending out emails to all the freshman parents talking about what your students are going to be learning in their foundations course. And you should be getting one probably by the end of Friday. So it may go out tomorrow or Friday. And that's coming from Dr. Karen McGregor, who is our Associate Dean for Student Success. And so she will give you an idea of what tools your students are being given to be successful, and even some conversation prompts that you can have with your student that really reinforce what we're teaching them. She likes to talk about how sometimes we unwillingly as parents reinforce maybe the wrong thing. You know, if you're saying, oh, are you having fun? Then your student may be saying, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do, is I'm supposed to have fun. And when instead what you're really wanting them to tell you is, are you building connections? Have you met people? Those types of things. So expect to be getting communication from Dr. McGregor that will kind of help you and coach you through some things that you can do to help your student this first semester.
We had a question about whether or not the freshmen will have an opportunity to scout out the buildings where their classes will be held. And we had a wonderful answer from Dr. Kristen Stahauer, who is behind the scenes manning the keyboards and providing answers. She said there's a Sunday afternoon guided tour for students where they can help identify where their classes are being held. We have another question. What are the activities planned for this weekend for freshmen? Dean Kripe?
So Friday all day, as I mentioned, is pretty much a move-in day. And then Friday evening, the freshmen will meet with the other residents that are living in the same hallway with them in the residence hall. So they'll start to build community and get to know one another. They'll get to know their resident advisors. And they're going to start learning right away some of the policies of living in Northwood housing, and specifically starting to talk about taking a deeper dive into what COVID is having us do to keep everybody safe. And then Saturday, there are placement exams in the morning. And then Saturday is more of the out of the classroom type of day, socialization day. So we'll expose them to the registered student organizations that exist on campus, give them opportunity to learn about those and start signing up for those. We're going to talk about student success. We're going to talk about the code of ethics, and we're going to talk about campus safety and some Title IX issues as well. And then when we get to, that's just before dinner. And then when we get to dinner, we'll eat, and then we're going to show a movie in the football stadium. We'll have 2 different showings of movies because, again, we're restricted on the size of the crowd. But we'll do that on the new scoreboard in our football stadium as a fun activity for Saturday night. Sunday morning, there'll be more placement exams in the morning, and then more hall meetings. And then Sunday is more of an academic theme. So as Dr. Tim mentioned earlier, the foundations classes, we're going to do a foundation session where each student will be in the class with their foundations instructor. And so we'll do a session there. And then we're going to have a meet and greet with different faculty members. And then, as was already mentioned, a tour around campus so that students can find their classrooms. And then we get to dinner Sunday night, and then we release them back to the residence halls. And we won't have any formal meetings Sunday night. We'll let them decompress a little bit to get ready for Monday morning, which will obviously be a big day. So that's pretty much the schedule for this weekend.
Thank you so much. And we are running just a little bit short on time. I do see we have a few remaining questions on there. We do have access to these questions after the fact, and we will route them to the appropriate person as we are able. If Dean Kripe or Dr. Tim, if you see a question there that you're able to answer quickly. If not, I think I'd like to invite President Mcdonald to join us. He's going to give us our final thoughts. Dr. Mcdonald has a long history researching higher education and traveling the world to see the things that make great universities great. We're so glad to have him here, and we're so glad that he's able to join us this evening. Without further ado, Dr. Mcdonald.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Chris. Good evening, everyone. I won't take up a whole lot of your time, and I absolutely am looking forward to meeting you on the move-in weekend and getting to know you over the years in advance. I'm actually sitting here tonight in our small library, and there's a diagram over my shoulder. It was a design for a university campus that was commissioned to an incredible architect by the name of Alden B. Dow. And so I had it recreated from his estate and to hang in my office. And the reason that I did that was for me to honor the memory and the incredible impact on higher education that 2 young men and their young wives, in fact, none of them were incredibly much older than the students who are going to be walking on the campus here in a couple of days. These 2 individuals by the name of Arthur Turner and Gary Stauffer had this vision over 6 years ago that higher education had to become more different. It had to do more in terms of not only preparing students differently, but helping the economy and helping our communities prosper. And so they went about launching Northwood University. This fall, we will have our 61st cohort of students walk on to this campus. And so what do I think about that? I think of it beyond incredible courage from these 4 young people to launch Northwood. But as Chris talked about, my area of research, every president likes to research some area. Some are biologists, some are psychologists or philosophers. Mine happens to be really simple question of what makes a great university great. It's a bit more complicated than that, but that's essentially what it is. And I've been blessed to be able to literally travel the world, speaking to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different people, asking that question to them through time in the Middle East and Southeast Asia, and up into Kazakhstan, Europe, Latin America, etc. And this is what I like to say about Northwood on the eve of you joining us shortly, is it would be silly for me to say that Northwood is a better university. It really depends on what the student's looking for. And in fact, this state alone is blessed with great universities. But I have no difficulty at all, having spent time on several hundred campuses, to say that you are about to walk on the campus of a very different university. A different perspective on things, a different way the students are prepared, our faculty, what they think about the type of students who are attracted to Northwood. And in my time here at the university, I have met incredible students, wonderful alumni and supporters of the university, and they have gone on to do remarkable things. And I like to say that Northwood punches well above its weight class when it comes to developing young entrepreneurs and business leaders that have gone and put their thumbprint around the world. And so from a president's point of view, on top of those remarkable words that we heard from Professor Liepart and Dean Kripe and Dean Tim earlier, and plus the previous sessions as well, there's just two things that I look for in university students who want to come to Northwood, and I'll keep it really simple. But number one is that we are looking for academically focused students, and you have now graduated from high school, and I congratulate you on that, but now it's a time to put that in your rearview mirror and be proud of that. But now you're a university student, and that means walking into a class, being on time, engaging like Professor Liepart had spoken about earlier, and not judging the success of your class by the types of things that were taught or transferred or shared with you, but by thinking differently about how you view the world, how business should work, how the economy should work. And Chris gave himself a hard time on the accounting because I've spoken to him, and he's a wonderful thinker around economics. And so academically focused is, it's cool to do great in university, and so take it seriously. The second thing, besides being academically focused on a campus like this, I was asked by the media today about what we are doing for the fall and how we're planning, and we are a beautiful campus on 500 acres located in the forest, and it is a safe, beautiful, wonderful campus, and I would encourage all of the students to be socially engaged. So in addition to be academically focused, be socially engaged, get involved in a number of the different things that happen to go on. If it be mock trial that you heard about today, or it could be an auto show, it could be some type of recreational activities, it could be doing security, but be involved in university life, because it may seem like graduation's a long ways away, but it's just like that and it will be over. And as much as you enjoy your classes, you'll have deep, rich memories of what happens on campus. So those two things are really important. And as we're coming to the end, I just want to certainly thank my colleague Chris for moderating this event tonight. Professor Liepart and Dean Kripe, Dean Tim, thank you very much. Dr. Stahauer, who you heard about from last week and was with you moderating in the first session, wonderful academic vice president, thank you. And my friend and colleague, the person that I continue to learn from every time I speak with him in terms of the Northwood idea and what we have the ability to do to make this country even more successful. Dr. Nash, you've been here to begin and put closure on each of these sessions. So thank you, Tim, for doing that. But let me just pivot and point the attention maybe where it should be, and that is Rebecca and Rachel and Ryan and Luke and Lori and Greg and Owen and the rest of the students who have joined us here tonight. When you see me on campus, I love hearing directly from students. I would ask you to say hello. I'll absolutely get to know you. You cannot hide at Northwood. It is a big fish tank, and that's a beautiful thing about being on our campus, is that we get to know one another. The faculty are going to know you by your first name, and you are about to make friends that you will never get rid of for the rest of your life. It's just the nature of studying on a small, intimate, engaging campus like Northwood. There are many things that happen in our lives, getting married, having children, maybe buying a house. But one of the great successes or memories that you'll have is the first day of college. And I hope yours is wonderful. Your faculty are absolutely ready for you. They've been preparing all summer. Our staff are ready to go. And I look forward to seeing you here in Midland in a couple of days. So thanks for joining all these sessions. I've been asked to put a bow on these events. And so on behalf of the Board of Trustees, who will be on campus on Friday morning, all the faculty, the staff, the alumni, the current students, and the friends of Northwood University, I wish you all the best and have a great night. We'll see you shortly. Take care.